Hare Krishna. So we're very ecstatic to be here in Bombay after a long, long time. During COVID, we didn't go anywhere. So after a long time, we're here with all the wonderful devotees of Juhu Yatra. And here we feel Prabhupada's presence more than anywhere else, even in Vrindavan. Because this is Prabhupada's temple. He fought so hard for this land, we couldn't understand. In those days, temple to us, we just rented a house in the low rent district of town, run down. Broken houses are there. We painted it funny colors and put a sign, Hare Krishna temple, and that was a temple. And Prabhupada was talking about a magnificent marble temple with a twin tower guest house. And what in the world is this all about, you know? So this is Prabhupada's temple. Jai C.C. Gornita C.C. RadhaRasbihariTemple C.C. Ram Lakshman Hanuman Ji Maharaj. And we first came here, we couldn't understand anything. We were in 1974. First time we came, after the Mayapur festival, Mayapur Vrindavan festival those days. Prabhupada invited as many devotees as could to come to Juhu for Sankirtan protest. The city was not giving permission to build here, and the police commissioner declared that our kirtan on our property was a public nuisance. That was 1974. Our kirtan was a public nuisance. Now we saw just a few days ago, we inaugurated our new parliament building with Vedic mantras and yoga and everything. And 74 they said is a public nuisance, chanting Hare Krishna. And there was nothing here. We were sleeping in a we didn't sleep in it. We lived in a chatai shack where there used to be a little park here. Now I have it turned into heaven and earth, but and then there was just a temporary building with tin roof and a tin darshan mandap. So we used to sleep there because it was fans, you know, because you slept in the shack, then the mosquitoes would come, pick you up and take you off for Sunday feast. And every morning we did Prabhat Ferry. That was Prabhupada's Sankirtan protest. We went all around Juhu area doing Prabhat Ferry every morning. It was so ecstatic. And every evening Prabhupada had a pandal. And you may have seen those pictures, but I always just stand right next to the Vyasa Sangha. Into the lecture, they would bring a big plate of Mahaprasad, and Prabhupada he had this so pyari smile on his face, just with great affection. He would give first all the little children, then he would give everybody some Mahaprasad. But he had this I would just stare at that smile. It was so sweet. And my dear old friend P.L. Sethi, he told a wonderful story to us in Vrindavan, that there was no place for the devotees. We were just living in that shack. And you know, you're all from India, you know, to get renter out of the place is impossible. In those days, we didn't have any money. So Prabhupada decided we would make another floor on top of all the apartment buildings for the devotees to stay. So they made one for Prabhupada, so Prabhupada was staying there, and they were making for the devotees. And P.L. Sethi had a construction company, so he was doing it. So one day, he was inspecting all the works going on, and his hall clothes was covered with cement dust and so many things. And he thought, how can I go before, he used to call Prabhupada Guruji. So how can I go before Guruji just like this, you know? So he started to leave. Then he said, but how can I leave without taking my leave from Guruji? So he went up to Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada saw his all cloth completely filled with cement dust. And Prabhupada said, so, you are building rooms for my devotees? And he said, yes, Guruji. So I am building your room in Goloka Vrindavan. He said, and P.L. Sethi, he would cry when he told the story. He says, I wasn't even a devotee. I didn't chant your rounds or do anything. I wasn't even a devotee. Just I was serving the devotees. And Prabhupada said, I'm building your room in Goloka Vrindavan. He said, that is the destination. I was just a servant of the devotees of Prabhupada. But those of you who are doing service directly to Srila Prabhupada, what is your destination? Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. We're also in 10th Canto in Vrindavan. We were a little behind you. We're on when we left, it was 35 or 36, something like that. You're on, like what, chapter 50, huh? Krishna establishes Dwarka, beginning with text number 19. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Na Vai Sura Vikatante Darshanayanti Eva Paurusham Na Granimo Vacho Rajan Aturasya Mumurshata Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Navaishura Vikatante Darshayantyeva Paurusham Nagranimo Vacho Rajan Aturasya Mumurshata Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Navaisura Vikatante Darshayantyeva Paurusham Nagranimo Vacho Rajan Aturasya Mumurshata. No one else? Ladies? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Lord said, Na, do not, by, indeed, Suraha, heroes, Vikatante, boast vainly, Darshayanti, they show, Eva, simply, Paurusham, their prowess. Nagrinimaha, we do not accept. Vachaha, the words. Rajan, O king. Aturasya, of one who is mentally agitated. Mumurshata, who is about to die. Translation, the Supreme Lord said, real heroes do not simply boast, but rather show their prowess in action. We cannot take seriously the words of one who is full of anxiety and who wants to die. Translation, please repeat. The Supreme Lord said, real heroes do not simply boast, but rather show their prowess in action. We cannot take seriously the words of one who is full of anxiety and who wants to die. So text number 20. Sri Sukha Uvacha Jara Sutastava Visritya Madhavo Mahabalagnena Baliya Sravrinnat Na Vainyayana Dvajavaji Sarati Suryana Lo Vayur Ivabra Renubim. Sukadeva Goswami said, just as the wind covers the sun with clouds or a fire with dust, the son of Jara marched toward the two descendants of Madhu, and with his huge assemblage of armies, surrounded them and their soldiers, chariots, flags, horses, and charioteers. Purport, Acharya Sridhar points out the clouds only seem to cover the sun. The sun remains shining in the vast sky, nor is the potency of fire affected by a thin covering of dust. Similarly, the covering of Jarasandha's military strength was only apparent. So sometimes we say the clouds are covering the sun. But the clouds are not covering the sun, they're covering our limited vision, our tiny eyes. Otherwise, above the clouds, just like I can remember Prabhupada was, he never flew an airplane. He came over to America on a ship. So he never, finally when he went to San Francisco, then he went on a plane for the first time, and he was amazed that there was so many clouds, and then the plane went up above the clouds, there was the sun. So it's just our tiny position that is covered. So like that, Jarasandha came with his huge army and seemed to cover Krishna and Balaram, but it's just apparent, as we'll see. Text 21. Suparnataladvaja Chinito Rahav Alakshayantya Hari Ramayor Mride Striya Purutal Talaka Harmya Gopuram Samasrita Samumuhu Suchardita. The women stood in the watchtowers, palaces, and high gates of the city. When they could no longer see Krishna's and Balaram's chariots, identified by banners marked with the emblems of Garuda and a palm tree, they were struck with grief and fainted. Purport: the women are especially mentioned here because of their extraordinary attachment to Lord Krishna and Balaram. So here we see in Krishna's time, the women didn't come down and mix with the general public. They would go up on the roofs and up on the high watchtowers, and they would watch everything. Just like you go to Jaipur, you can see the Hawa Mahal. Very beautiful place they made. And they made it in such a way that wind will blow in such a way that it will be very cooling there. So all the ladies from very cool and hidden place, they would watch all the big parades and processions and whatever was going on in Jaipur. So here we see, even in Krishna's time, the same thing is there. And purport mentions specifically, women, they have a very extraordinary attachment to Lord Krishna and Balaram. So they're mentioned specifically. As Prabhupada said, the women as a class, they're naturally inclined to religious things. They're naturally inclined to love Krishna. Just like we go to Vrindavan, we see so many temples. Some fellow was there giving class, and 90% is just old ladies. You see, women naturally, men are thinking, I'm a big man, why should I hear about God? You know, I'm God. Hari Puranika Payo Muchammuhu Silmukatya Yulbana Parsha Piritam Swasainyamaloke Sura Surarchitam Vyaspur Jayat Char This is a funny word, huh? Charanga Sadasa Sanotamam. Translation: seeing his army tormented by the relentless and savage rain of arrows from the massive opposing forces gathered like clouds about him, Lord Hari twanged his excellent bow, Saranga, which both gods and demons worshipped. So Jarasanda's army was enormous, and they were savagely attacking Krishna and Balaram's army. And Krishna just took his bow and twang, and that sound was giving great fear to all the soldiers on Jarasanda's side. Grinam nisangat atasandodata charan Vikrishya muncham sitabana pugan Nignam ratam kunjaravajipatim Nirantaram yadvad alata chakram. Translation: Lord Krishna took arrows from his quiver, fixed them on the bowstring, pulled back and released endless torrents of sharp shafts, which struck the enemy's chariots, elephants, horses, and infantrymen. The Lord, shooting his arrows, resembled a blazing circle of fire. So Krishna just began to fire so many arrows, hitting all the infantrymen, the elephants, the horses. Everyone was, there's this piritam, they were suffering under the onslaught of Krishna's attack. Nirbina kumbha karino nipetur anekasho swasara vrikna kandara rataha tasva dvajashutanayaka padayatas chinna bujorukandaraha. Elephants fell to the ground, their foreheads split open. Cavalry horses fell with severed necks. Chariots fell with their horses, flags, drivers, and masters all shattered. And foot shoulders collapsed with severed arms, thighs, and shoulders. So Krishna's putting on very incredible scene for everyone, for the pleasure of the devotees. Just like we see nowadays, they try to make their films and they try to make it realistic as possible. You see them cutting off the heads and blood is squirting out of the neck and cutting off the arm and blood, they're all following Krishna. Yad yad charati srestas. Whatever the great man does, the common man will follow. So all the movie directors are trying to follow Krishna and make horrifying scenes that are just, we don't even want to imagine these horrible scenes. Now we'll see, it gets even gorier. Text number 25 to 28. Santidyamana dvipa deva vajinam anga prasuta satasho srig apaga bujabaya purusha sirsa kachapa ata dvipa dvipa hayagraha kulaha karo rumina narakesha saivala danustaranga yudagulna sankula archurikavarta bayanaka maha mani pravavika baranasma saraka pravartita birubayan vahasmride manasvinam harshakari parasparam vinignatnatarin musalena durmadidan sankarshanayen map parimeyate jasa balam tadangar nava durga bhairavam durantaparam magadendra palitam Jayam pranitam vasudeva putrayor vikriditam taj jagad ishaya param. On the battlefield, hundreds of rivers of blood flowed from the limbs of the humans, elephants, and horses who had been cut to pieces. In these rivers, arms resembled snakes who had been cut to pieces. In these rivers, arms resembled snakes, human heads, turtles, dead elephants, islands, and dead horses. Crocodiles, hands and thighs appeared like fish, human hair like water weeds, and bows like waves, and various weapons like clumps of bushes. The rivers of blood teemed with all of these. Chariot wheels looked like terrifying whirlpools, and precious gems and ornaments resembled stones and gravel in the rushing red rivers, which aroused fear in the timid, joy in the wise. With the blows of his plow weapon, the immeasurable, powerful Lord Balaram, Bolo Sri Daoji Maharaj Ki, destroyed Magadendra's military force. And though this force was as unfathomable and fearsome as an impassable ocean, for the two sons of Vasudeva, the lords of the universe, the battle was hardly more than play. So here we see this most ghastly description. But for Krishna and Balaram, it's just a play, just like we go to the movies and we're, Like that, but it's all just play. For Krishna and Balaram, this is all just play. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just by snapping his fingers, you could kill them all. But to make a very incredible scene, because here it says, the timid were filled with fear, and the wise with joy. Huh? Seeing Krishna displaying his pastimes like this. Jai, SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple, 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 Lakshman, Hanumanji Maharaj ki. So the wise were filled with joy. They know this is just Krishna's pastimes. Not only that, we learn from Bhagavad-gita that everyone who dies in the presence of the Lord, he is liberated. So all this very gory scene, this is a great preaching program. We never did a preaching program where after everyone became liberated, did we? maybe one or two new bhaktas, but people going back to Vaikuntha or Golok, we never did a program like that. So this is a great preaching program by Krishna here. So text number 29, this has a purport. Stityud bhavavantam bhuvana trayasya ya samhite nanta guna swalilaya natasya chitram parapaksha nigrahas tatapi martyanu vidasya varnyate. For him orchestrates the creation, maintenance and destruction of the three worlds, and who possesses unlimited spiritual qualities, it is hardly amazing that he subdues an opposing party. Still, when the Lord does so, imitating human behavior, sages glorify his acts. Purport. The philosopher Aristotle once argued that the Supreme God would hardly take part in human activities, since all ordinary activities are unworthy of such a divine being. Similarly, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, who almost certainly never read the works of Aristotle, raises a similar point. Since Sri Krishna creates, maintains, and annihilates the entire universe, isn't it an uninteresting mismatch when he fights against Jarasandha? The answer is as follows. The Lord plays the part of a human being, and expanding his pleasure potency creates thrilling, transcendental pastimes full of suspense and dynamic action. By the Lord's Yogamaya potency, he appears exactly like a human being, and thus we may enjoy the spectacle of the Supreme Person acting on the earthly stage. Undoubtedly, stubborn agnostics will argue that since Krishna is God, there is no real suspense involved. Such skeptics simply do not understand Krishna's attractive potency. Beauty and drama, even on the material stage, possess their own fascinating logic. And similarly, we love Krishna for his own sake. We appreciate his beauty for its own sake, and we enjoy Krishna's pastimes because they are in fact wonderful and in and of themselves. In fact, Krishna executes his pastimes not for a mundane egotistical purpose, but for our pleasure. Thus, the presentation of spiritual pastimes is itself an act of love that Krishna performs for the infinite spiritual happiness of pure-hearted souls who have transcendental material envy of the Godhead. Transcendental material envy of the Godhead. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes an important verse from the Gopal Tampani Upanishad, Narakriti Parabrahm Karana Manusaha. The supreme absolute truth, for his own purpose, appears in human-like form, although he is the source of everything. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 14th chapter, 32nd verse, we find Yan Mitram Paramanandam Purnam Brahma Sanatanam, the source of transcendental bliss, the eternal supreme Brahman, has become their friend. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svaparandigam Aradhanastrinandan Daibridam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatrubhyasta Kripasindu Vevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So here we just had very thrilling and dynamic description of Krishna fighting with Jarasandha. He came with practically unlimited army. Appeared to be completely a mismatch. But here it says that Krishna and Balaram, they're the creators, maintainers, and destroyers of the material world. This was just play, krida. This was just play for them. This was just to make a very exciting scene. Just like we like to go to the movies and we're sitting there holding on to the seat like that. So Krishna, just to distract us from these material movies, he makes even better scene. We can't imagine rivers of blood and legs and arms and heads and horses and wheels floating in the river, the hair looking like weeds. We can't imagine something. Even this is beyond our imagination. But Krishna makes all these wonderful things. Here it says that even the great sages glorify these things. Because this is the great mystery of Krishna. Just like here he presents it, Aristotle, a great Greek philosopher, he said that God can't take part in material human activities. It's beneath him. But this means putting some limitation. Just like the Mayavadis, they say that putting this beautiful form of Radharasbihari, this is limiting God. But Krishna, you're limiting by saying that he can't have a form. That's a limitation. You're saying that God is unlimited, and you say, but he can't have a form. Or the agnostics, they say, there may be God, there may not be God, but nobody can know. Nobody can know. How do you know that? This is just their proud way of going on with their material existence. That there may be God, may not be God, nobody can know, so let me just enjoy my senses like anything. They're just, the atheist, he's honest, there's no such thing as God. Just like our Stephen Hawkins, he wrote so many books, says God is a useless thing. At least he was honest. He said there's no such thing. The agnostic, he's dishonest. He said maybe, may not be. In other words, we don't know anything about God, but we know one thing, he cannot communicate himself to us. That's essentially what they're saying. But everybody else, they write their books, they put their picture on the back, they're hoping for a bestseller. So everybody else can communicate, but God can't communicate. Bhagavad-gita means song of God. Srimad Bhagavatam means the stories about God. Just like one time I was on door-to-door Sankirtan, and one lady was telling me, God can't come here. He's too big. Because we know this universe, although it's very big for us, and they sent their John Webb telescope to find out, the limits of the universe, and still they can't find. So this one little universe is beyond our conception, and there's billions of universes. So God is the creator of all this, so he must be beyond all this. So how can he come inside? He's too big. Huh? But Krishna means he's where all opposites meet. Huh? Just like Upanishad says, he walks and he doesn't walk. He doesn't have hands, but he accepts all the offerings. Where all opposite things meet, that is Krishna. He's beyond our tiny little brain that can only calculate so many things. If Krishna wants to come to this world, who is there to stop him? Just like somebody may have so many factories. If he comes into the factory, nobody can stop him. He's the boss. If that little guy in the assembly line, you're just putting every 2 seconds, he's putting the same screw on the same car. If he wants to go see the boss, and there's so many secretaries and other people in his way, he can't just go up and see the boss. But if the boss wants to see him, I heard this guy's doing well, let me go see. Who is there to stop? His secretaries can't stop, his managers can't, nobody can stop him. So if Krishna wants to come to this material world, nobody can. This is the beauty of Krishna. That he can accept a beautiful transcendental form and still be unlimited. Because he has unlimited forms. And his form still has unlimited potency. This our brain can't calculate. If somebody's in a form, just like we have this form, I'm sitting here in Juhu Temple, I can't be in Vrindavan at the same time. But Krishna, he can be everywhere at the same time and still be manifest in a beautiful form in front of us. This is inconceivable potency. Mahabharata says, don't try to, that which achintya, don't try to figure it out. So Krishna is doing all these wonderful pastimes just to give us, we like to read some exciting novel, we like to see, gory films, like all these things. So Krishna, he's doing all these things just to attract us to him. This is the beauty of Krishna. Here it says he becomes, although he's the maintainer, creator of everything, he still becomes their friend. All the cowherd boys, they're climbing on Krishna's shoulder. Climbing his shoulder means his foot will touch the Lord's body. If somebody comes here, climbs over the railing and goes to put their foot on Rasbihari, all the guards will come and beat him like anything. But here's Krishna, the same three personality of Godhead. He's letting the cowherd boys come at his back. Their feet are touching his body. He's enjoying like anything. This is Krishna. He's beyond our conception. He's wonderful. He's so wonderful. So here, Vishwanath Chakravarti, he presents this argument, but then he destroys this argument. Krishna likes to do all these things simply for the pleasure of the devotees. Because all the demons, they'll automatically, Krishna doesn't have to come and fight with them. Automatically, by the laws of nature, everyone in this world, nobody gets out of this world alive. They'll automatically die. Krishna's pastimes are just for the pleasure of his devotees. His pastimes are just for the pleasure of his devotees. And he comes to this world just to, just like he says, Pritranaya sadhunam vinashaya duskritam. Actually, killing the demons, we already said, that's done automatically. But to give pleasure to the devotees, that's his real business in coming here. So, this is wonderful Krishna. This is why we love our Krishna so much. Everybody else is talking about that God is great. Just like we were just in Kashmir. So everybody's saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And we had one devotee from Kenya. He was saying, yes, you do namaz, you worship Allah, and you chant Hare Krishna also. The same thing. He would come to them and go, Allah Akbar, and then he would say, Haribo. He'd get everybody to say Haribo. We went every corner of Kashmir and shouted out the holy name of Krishna. Very beautiful place. So, everybody says that God is great, but nobody knows how great he is. Here, we get description. Prabhupada says his name, address, phone number, girlfriend, everything we know. This is Krishna consciousness, everything we know. Even his website. His website is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.com. So we're learning everything about God. This is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. And here we see actually Krishna, we understand that his purpose of his avatar was, one reason was to decrease the burden of the earth. So Jarasandha, he was a great demon and he has so many demons following him. So we'll see later that his whole army is destroyed. So Krishna relieved the burden of the earth quite a bit. And Balaram had Jarasandha and ready to kill him, and Krishna said, no, don't, let him alone. Because Krishna knew he'll go back somehow, although he wants to go to the forest. He's defeated so badly, he's embarrassed. So he wants to go to the forest and give up everything, but his ministers say, no, just a bad day, somehow or other, the stars weren't right, that's all. The next time you'll smash him, make another army. So he made another army. And this way, Krishna 17 times, he relieved the burden of the earth of all these demons. This was his purpose of all these wonderful pastimes. Then we'll see 18th time, then this Kalyavana appeared. And Krishna saw both of them are coming. He said, this is a very dangerous situation. So very mystically, he made a beautiful city. And at the very edge of Gujarat, where the last rays of the setting sun, or is it the first rays of the sun, rising sun? Setting sun, setting sun. That's right, it'll rise over Bengal first. Then last rays touch the earth at that place. We went to that point, Sunset Point. And he transferred everyone very mystically. During the night, everyone woke up and suddenly they were in a beautiful palace and beautiful city is there. And head pujari, we went to Dwarka one time, and head pujari told us everybody woke up and they saw this beautiful city with parks and fountains and lakes and streams and beautiful palaces and little chhatris and all nice places and big huge wall all around. And everybody was looking for the dwar. Where's the dwar? Where's the door? Everyone's going, Dwarka, Dwarka, Dwarka. So that place became known as Dwarka. I haven't seen it in Bhagavatam, but anyway, this is the head pujari of Dwarka temple. It said Dwarka, Dwarka, so it became Dwarka. And now they're finding so many interesting things under the sea. People don't believe it, but so many interesting things under the sea because it all disappeared under the sea, but all the things are still there. So Krishna transferred everybody there. Then he became Ranchor. If somebody runs away from battle, that is very, very nasty thing. And his infamy becomes known all over the world. But Krishna becomes praised by being Ranchor. He ran away, and this Kalyavana chased after him, and he went into the cave somewhere near, somewhere near Dolpur. There's a place, they have a big mela for Muchakunda every year. I can't remember what's the date, but we went to that place. So Krishna went in the cave because Muchakundi had a blessing. If anybody disturbed his sleeping, just by looking at them, he would burn them to ashes. So this Kalyavana, he was a Yavana, Krishna didn't want to touch him. So he ran in there, put his cloak on Muchakunda and hid. And Kalyavana came, he thought this is Krishna, he kicked him. And Muchakunda woke up and he saw Kalyavana just immediately burn into ashes. So Krishna did all these wonderful, exciting pastimes just to attract us, to hear about Krishna. Because simply by hearing about Krishna, we were just reading few days ago, we get the daily announcements of Vrindavan because we're on the Google group. So they always have one quote from Prabhupada every day. So Prabhupada was saying, I'm just creating these temples so you can come and hear. You don't have to do anything else. You just come here and hear about Krishna. That's all. You just come and hear about Krishna. And we see when Ramananda Roy met Srimad Mahaprabhu on his South Indian tour, then he presented so many things, and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya said no, because he asked, what is the goal of life and how to achieve it? So he presented so many things, even quoting from Bhagavatam, even quoting from the scriptures. Even he quoted our favorite verse, Sarvadharmam Prichyaja Mamikam Sadaram Braja Ham Tvam Sarva Papejo Mokshishami Mahasucha. He even quoted that verse. Mahaprabhu said no. They said no to this is our favorite verse. Even if somebody's asleep, you tap the devotee. What is it in the 18th chapter? What is that verse? Even in his sleep, he'll say Sarvadharmam. He said no. Then he said one of the prayers of Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter of this 10th canto. What is that? Jnane prayasam udapasya namanteva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadi bhartam stane cita srutigatam tanuvan manobir ye prayaso jita jichopasi trilokyam. He said, I can hear the lecture still, Prabhupada saying, you give up this attempt. Prayas means attempt. Jnane prayas. You give up jnana and karma. This attempt to understand the Lord. Give it up. He said, Udapasya Prabhupada said means kick it out. Then what? Jnane prayasam udapasya namanteva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya bhartam. Sanskrit is funny. If T comes before a M or an N, then it becomes an N. So sanmukaritam means satmukaritam. And Prabhupada explains sat means the devotee because he only speaks satya, the truth. So mukaritam, we can understand by you hear from the mouth of the devotee. What is that? Bhavadiya bhartam. Lord Brahma is talking to Krishna. We have the picture here somewhere, huh? Or maybe a diorama we have. We have a diagram. So he's talking to Krishna, and he says, Bhavadiya bhartam, your chats. Like everybody's always chatting on WhatsApp and Messenger and this one and that one and TikTok and so many things. Everybody's chatting all day long about some nonsense thing. I had strawberry toast this morning. Who cares? But he says, Bhavadiya bhartam, if we hear from the mouths of the devotees about your chats, talks about you, then by that attempt, that person who is ajita, I can hear Prabhupada on the tape, Krishna is ajita, unconquerable. No one can conquer God. Anyone can conquer God? No one can conquer God. But he becomes jita. He becomes conquered by such devotee who sits down and hears about Krishna. And he says, stane stita. You stay in your place. Stam means place. Just like in old days there was Hindustan and Pakistan. Then all of a sudden Soviet Union broke up and they became all these places, Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan, and so many stans appeared. So stane stita, you stay in your place. Not that you have to give up your job, give up your family, go to the Himalayas, sit in the middle of fire in the summer, and sit in the cold water in the winter. No, stanis, you stay, whatever you're doing, you stay doing that. Srutigatam, you go on hearing about Krishna. And that person who is unconquerable, tries trilokyam, in the three worlds, nobody can conquer him. He becomes conquered, jita, Prabhupada said. He becomes conquered by such devotee. Because he's shocked. Everybody's on Messenger and WhatsApp, and so many chats are going on. Somebody came and sat down in the Bhagavatam class in Juhu Temple and is hearing about me. Really? Krishna becomes stunned. Nobody becomes stunned, and he's very easy to conquer. Somebody's stunned. So Prabhupada said, we're just And on that lecture, Prabhupada said, even if you don't practice, if you just go on hearing, you don't do anything, you just go on hearing, you will reach the goal. Of course, the more you practice what you hear, then the faster the realizations will come. But even if you just go on hearing, Sruti Gatam, you just go on hearing. I'm making all these temples just to give people a chance to hear about how wonderful Krishna is. You go on hearing. The more you practice, the faster the realization will come. Because in Kali Yuga, we have very short time. And we don't know. This universe, this is Mahavishnu's breathing out, and so many universes are coming that he breathes in, and so many new universes. Sometimes we see somebody sleeping, they're going. Sometimes they go like that. So who knows? Maybe Mahavishnu will go like that, and the whole universe will disappear. This material world is just perverted reflection. So maybe sometimes he'll sleep like that, and we're all gone. So we don't have much time. We should take this Krishna consciousness seriously now and practice whatever Prabhupada has given us. But if you just hear, Prabhupada, I'm just making all these temples just so you'll come and hear about Krishna. That's all. You don't do anything. You just come and hear about Krishna. So Mahaprabhu said, yes, now you go further. In that chapter you read, you just go in ecstasy. So this is the real, because even he rejected Sarvadharmam because nobody knows who is God. Somebody's saying Durga's God, somebody's saying Hanuman's God, somebody's saying Shiva's God. He says, you don't know, so who are you going to surrender to? First you have to hear from the devotee, and then you can understand who to surrender to. So the real process is hearing from the Sanmukaritam, from the mouths of the bona fide, coming through disciplic succession. Just like yesterday, we had our mango festival, and the best mangoes are on the top of the tree. But if they drop straight down, they'll get spoiled. So they put one person, now of course we have big pickers, big long pickers. But in old days, they used to climb up the tree, one person on one branch, one person on another branch. As I'm seeing, so shocked out here, seeing we don't have mango trees this tall at Vrindavan Braj. So they go up, so everyone, they pick that mango, hand it down to the next branch, next branch, next branch, and it comes down intact. So we have to receive knowledge through disciplic succession. Krishna says in Bhagavad, evam parampara praptan. This knowledge was received, parampara. Paramparam, paramparam, param, from one to the next, one to the next. Not haphazard, just like when the little children, at least in America, when they have birthday party, they have some game where they sit everybody in a big circle and they tell some message to the first child. He's supposed to tell it to the next one. And by the time it gets to the end, it's a completely different message. Not like that, not haphazard. But Guru, he trains his disciple. He lives with the Guru, or it's just the Guru's disciples, and they train him year after year after year so that he understands perfectly and can repeat the message perfectly. So it is like that. This Guru we received like that. Narottam Das Thakur has a song that the ripe mangoes, they're on the top of the tree, but they're still quite tight. The ones that are ready to eat are quite tight. But the boys are down below throwing rocks. The little kids, they come and they're throwing rocks, trying to knock the ripe mangoes down. But the ripe mangoes won't fall. The ones that are rotten, they're the ones that will fall. So don't try to jump. Just receive through disciplic succession this message and go on hearing. You come here and hear about Krishna, and you will go back to home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. So anybody has any questions? We'll try to attempt to answer your questions.
Hare Krishna, bro. Thank you very much. So I was just, yesterday I was reading your biography, how you came. So I read that you born in a very rich family. I read that you born in a rich family. So what attracted, but at that time you got inspired by Prabhupada. seeing the hippies, counterculture. So how you got into this? You left your college education also, I read.
We were in a wealthy family. We had everything. We had a nice house on the side of the ocean. We can watch the waves come in and break against the rocks. And we had our own swimming pool. We didn't have to go to the ocean to swim. We had our own swimming. We had 2 cars. That was a big deal those days. We had color TV. That was also a big deal those days. We had everything, but still I wasn't feeling happy. I had things, I had facilities, but no real happiness. And I went to the University of Notre Dame. It's still there. They weren't teaching us what is the real goal of life. How to become happy. I realized, because I was thinking that money, in our family, money is not a problem, so why should I spend my life chasing after money like everybody else? Let me do some samaj seva, some service for society. But then I realized that just like if I want to distribute money, that means I have to have money to distribute. That my desire is to make people happy, but I have no real happiness, so how will I give it? Then on Janmashtami day only, I ran into the devotees and they gave me a copy of Bhagavad-gita, the old blue one was only 400 pages, 1100 pages edited out. Still we became devotees. There Prabhupada gave us a very simple example. It's just like you have a bird in a bird cage. You can make the cage out of silver. You can make it out of gold. Just imagine at today's price. You can put a Modipan carpet. You can put a nice HD TV there. But unless you give some food to the bird, he won't be happy. So similarly, this body is just like a cage. And this Pakshi Rup Atma, he's sitting inside this cage. You can do everything for the body, but unless you give some nourishment to the soul, he's not going to be happy. And I said, this is the knowledge that I was looking for. So I never went back to the university. I became student of Bhagavad-gita and still trying to be disciple of Prabhupada.
Jai Ho, Jai Ho. Thank you very much.
That's the tiny version. The real version takes 3 hours, but anyway. Yes. Bhakta Mike.
It seems like a big part of the Lord's mission when he comes to the earth is killing demons.
Yes.
And then we know in Bhagavad-gita, it's said that the whole purpose of Krishna's talking to Arjuna was to stimulate him to fight against the demons.
Yes.
So sometimes Krishna does it himself. Sometimes he tries to get his devotees to do the work as an instrument, nimitta matram, like that. But going forward now, in modern day society, don't we see that the devotees just like surrender to the demons who are ruling the world, in the form of different governments and politicians and global elitists and things like that. And they're, very demonically manipulating the people, trying to exploit as demons do, Isvaraham, Hambogi. So we see the same thing. But now, isn't it, we see that devotees just bow down to the demons and just go along with them. And I mean, you mentioned how during COVID, your traveling was stopped. Not your preaching, but your traveling was stopped, so we know that they, like in New Zealand where I'm from, they cancelled. They locked down the country one day before Janmashtami, and so the whole celebration was shut down one day before, and so I mean the Harinams was stopped, prasadam distribution was stopped, so it seems like it's very demoniac. But what do we do now? What do we
do? You see Gornitai? You see any weapon in their hands?
No.
The Gornitai have a weapon. And with their weapon, instead of killing the demons, they're trying to kill the Asur Bhav, killing the demoniac thinking of the demons. Our weapon is this holy name. So we just go on with our, anyway, anyhow, lockdown or no lockdown, we're still somehow or other trying to get people to chant Hare Krishna. Instead of, this is not the yuga where we just sit on the street with our box of books, take a Gita, no. Take a Gita, no. This is not that yuga. This yuga, we do Harinam and we give people Krishna Prasadam, and gradually they become, their demoniac mentality is killed, not the demons. We can't kill the demons at age, they're too powerful. But we can, gradually by the spreading of the chanting of Hare Krishna, we can change the whole mood of the earth. Just like Prabhupada explained one time that, we read in Bhagavad-gita that the grains come from the rains and the rains come from yajna. And we said, but Prabhupada, hardly any yajna is going on. He says, just because you're doing a little bit of Sankirtan, this rain is still coming. Maybe out of season and this and that, but at least we're still getting rain. He says, because of your chanting all over the world. Just like previously, they said, the sun never sets on the British Empire. But the British Empire finished. Now it's just an island off the coast of Europe, and even they're fighting with Europe. But now we can say that the sun never sets on the chanting of Hare Krishna. It's just like we're chanting here at Mangalarti, and then a few hours later they're chanting in Europe, then they're chanting in England, then they're chanting in Greenland and Iceland even, and chanting in New York, and then later Chicago, then Denver, then LA, then again somewhere Hawaii, then in Japan, and then again in Southeast Asia, and then again back to Mayapur, they're chanting again Mangalarti. So this way, sun never steps on the chanting of Hare Krishna. This is Prabhupada's glory. Srila Prabhupada ki. And Prabhupada says sometimes we have to flatter. He said, we'll see sometimes in the pastimes, we have to flatter the demons a little bit. So we just tolerate them, but as far as possible, we go on spreading Krishna consciousness, no matter what obstacle they put on us. Okay? So there's no other, one more question. All right. Our Govinda Kumar, huh?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So you mentioned that sthane sthita shrutigatam tanuvak manobhir. We need to just hear about Krishna.
Yes.
But actually it does not register into us. As Prahlad Maharaj says that one cannot awaken Krishna consciousness by one's own endeavor or others' endeavor or joint endeavor of both. So because we are so much conditioned, Krishna Katha does not have an impact. So what should we do?
You go on hearing. Just like one time, one lady came to Vrindavan and she was listening to some sadhu every day. And after the lecture one day, she came and said, Maharaj, you speak so nicely, but I go home and I forget everything you say. He said, you bring a basket. So she brought a basket. And he said, now take this basket and go to the Jamuna and bring me a basket of water. What, Maharaj? He said, bring me a basket of water. Are Maharaj, what are you saying? I said, bring me a basket of water. So she took the basket, she went to the Jamuna, she put it in the water, pulled it out, all the water came out. She put it again, all the water came out. Every time all the water comes out. And she went back and said, Maharaj, every time I pull it out, all the water runs out. He said, yes, but look at your basket, it's clean, no? He said, who knows, maybe you dip it enough times, the reeds will swell so much that the water will stay. So you just go on hearing. So there's no other questions. We can fall down to the very soft and wonderful lotus feet of the great personality who has given us all these exciting stories of Krishna's battles. Srila Prabhupada ki.